we researched Hurricane Michael for our case study video.
Hurricane Michael was a Category 5 hurricane that landed off the coast of Florida in 2018. Michael was one of 4 Category 5 hurricanes to ever make landfall in the United States. The hurricane's initial formation began as a large area of disturbed weather over the central and western Caribbean that absorbed the remains of Hurricane Kirk in October, according to the National Hurricane Center Tropical Cyclone Report. It grew more intense as it reached the Gulf of Mexico, becoming a major hurricane on October 9, 2018. Michael brought along great winds and storm surges that were devastating for the coast. It had a calculated final intensity of approximately 140 knots, a number that takes into account aircraft winds, surface pressure, and more. The pressure of the storm was 919 millibars, which marks the third lowest pressure level of all hurricanes making landfall in the United States. The hurricane occurred during the typical hurricane season period from June to November. Michael was just one of 15 named storms, 8 hurricanes, and 2 major hurricanes, Hurricane Florence being the other major hurricane of 2018. Hurricane Michael began as a product of the atmosphere but quickly impacted all other spheres once it made landfall in Florida. As said before, Michael brought along great storm surges that led to intense flooding and disruption of the hydrologic cycle. The flooding and high winds also negatively impacted ecosystems on the coast and therefore impacted the biosphere. For example, trees and forestry were demolished, killing organisms in these areas and damaging the habitats of those who survived. The destruction also involved that of extreme erosion, such as on Florida's Gulf Coast beaches. Effects like these will leave a lasting impact on aspects of the geosphere.
Hurricane Michael created severe and threatening impacts on both our society and economy. According to the National Weather Service and their preliminary damages estimates, this cyclone created about $30 billion worth of property and short-term losses. Because of this impact on the economy, the effects slowly started to trickle down to business activity. The operation of businesses was soon interrupted by the economic hit from the cyclone, which caused revenue and profit to be lost beyond all of the damaged facilities. Productivity also decreased due to the demands and attention the storm took in people's home lives. The Perryman Group finalized the exact economic costs in which Hurricane Michael created and concluded that the net impact of Hurricane Michael, in which the U.S. economy lost, was about $53 billion in total expenditures, $23.1 billion in real gross domestic product, and $15.3 billion in personal income, as well as about 161,300 person-years of employment. With the hurricane making landfall in Florida Panhandle and later making its way up the East Coast, Florida was arguably the most affected by this event, both socially and economically. The Perryman Group concluded that Florida had estimated losses of $38.9 billion in expenditures, $16.9 billion in gross product, and $11.2 billion in real personal income, as well as about 118,500 person-years of employment. These effects are observed over several years. The U.S. Multi-Regional Impact Assessment System and econometric models were used to come to these conclusions. In response to this harsh natural event, there are many efforts made to care for individuals impacted and start to rebuild the communities that were affected. For example, response teams made efforts to open shelters and clinics for individuals. Organizations and relief efforts continue to ship out medicines, medical supplies, hygienical products, and other alike things to medical centers and health facilities. Countless medical clinics were opening around the areas that were impacted by the cyclone to help those in need. To plan for similar events, many take preparation seriously. The knowledge and awareness that came from Hurricane Michael has allowed individuals and their families to take the right precautions, ensuring a greater percentage of their safety. There are many channels of information from hurricane prevention and safety techniques. In cases like these, it is important to expect the worst and hope for the best. It is safer to over-prepare than to not prepare at all.